Welcome, Vols and Lady Vols, to Power Tea Talk. I'm Daniel, your host, here with my comrade and co-host, Zach. Grab your orange and white, grab your pinstriped warm-ups. It's time for the big dance, and Tennessee is in it. This is Power Tea Talk. We're in. We know the bracket. I think, are still getting our bearings a little bit on how we feel about the progress of the tournament overall. But we have a disappointing SEC tournament result, and then what I think is overall an underseeding mixed with, I think, a tough second round matchup if we sneak out of the first round. How are you feeling about the bracket?
They were so bad Friday against Vanderbilt. I was like, do we have to do the tournament? And then I
felt
thought,
the same way.
And I was like, no. I remember this was before we were really, we were teenagers when Pearl came out. I was like, I know the dark days, and I remember Konzo and Tyndall, like those were bad. I'm like, let's not do that. We are a 6 seed. But I'm fine with the seeding. Some people are like, oh, Tennessee deserved the 5. We're top 20 KenPom. Yeah, like they lost 10 games. Like I'm not gonna whine about them going, whatever it was, 20 and 11, 22. They went 22 and 11, excuse me. So 22 and 11 losses. Like I'm not, whatever you get. And I know it's different college sports than it was a few years ago with the conference expansions and stuff, but I'm fine with a 6 seed. I know they're a little better on KenPom. You could make a case for a 5. If they beat Vanderbilt, they might have maybe get a 4. I don't know.
That's what I think. Is like you gotta perform at the end of the day. Like I think you and I both could do our like version of here's the pitch for a 5 or a 4 or just gripe about it. But this team repeatedly this year just didn't really earn the benefit of the doubt. And like, we can quibble all we want about how much the decisions are made based on, maybe very recent results or tournament results or how much are they actually watching. Like even beyond that, multiple premier games this year where they had the opportunity to kind of like stamp their season, they just didn't multiple times, including in the tournament. And so I really do agree with you in terms of like they fell where they fell in terms of seeding. Like we're still in the big dance. We all know that it's survive and advance at this point. It's not more complicated than that. But I can't really gripe about where we wound up when we did everything all season to be in that lump of teams that it's like you could be a 6, you could be a 7, you could be a 5. You didn't prove to me that you needed to be higher than that.
Their best one's Houston. That was November 25th. Like that was Tennessee hadn't lost to Vandy yet in football. Like if you want to think about how long ago that was, like that, that's 4 months ago essentially. So I didn't have a problem with it. And honestly, Vanderbilt probably should have won that game by 15 or 20. It
was not pretty.
Tennessee, literally the only reason they won is because made it close, was 23 offensive rebounds. Like that's the only reason Vanderbilt didn't make it a 20-point game. And yes, Ament was out for 2 games. They lost 4 of their last 6. Missouri loss was pretty bad because they were healthy. They blew double-digit lead to Alabama. They lose to home at Vanderbilt, and then Vanderbilt beat them on neutral site. Really hard to justify it. And then Vanderbilt got a 5.
That's what I was going to say. If anything, it's like Vanderbilt looked a lot more like a 4 seed.
Yeah, Vanderbilt, probably got screwed in their seeding, like them and St. John's both, in my opinion. So, I can't make the case that we deserve to be on the same line with Vanderbilt when they won 2 out of 3, even if one of those was out. Especially with how they beat us pretty handily on Friday. So, I guess I can't complain. This is the lowest seed they've been this decade, if I'm not mistaken. I think they were a 5 seed when they went to Sweet 16 and lost to Florida Atlantic. So it's the lowest seed they've been in a long time.
Yeah.
And even then, like, you can make the case They could have got a 5. They're a bunch of close losses. Like, they easily could have been more. While at the same time thinking, this team is not fun to watch. I have not had fun watching them since the Houston game, I would say.
No, haven't had fun. And it's like, it's not even just that thing where it's like, oh, the results have sucked and therefore it's not fun. There are stretches that, I mean this because I care about you. There are stretches that are hard on you to watch this
Yes.
team.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just
It's
difficult
ugly.
to continue to have your eyeballs open looking at the screen.
How many more Jalen Carey post-ups can one man take? I don't know. I'm pushing it.
We
We're
might
gonna
find
find
out.
out. This team, this is the first Barnes team I would argue, maybe this decade, where if they don't bring their A game, they don't win games.
Oh, yeah.
And Barnes teams, because of the style that they play, could play a B, could play a C game and win against good teams. They can still play a B game and beat, South Carolina. That's fine. But in order to beat good teams, they have to play a game. And they haven't done that in a long time, it feels like. Like they beat Vanderbilt on February 21st. And I thought they had to get every ounce they could to win that game. But they can't have bad games and muck up a victory anymore like they used to, like they had in the past. Nate looked gassed. He had a disaster game. Tennessee only made 4 3-pointers in 2026 college basketball. And Bridgestone's like a friendly gym, too. Like, that's the other thing. Jalen Carey bricks 4 3 throws early. He played 23 minutes, which could not believe. It just seemed impossible as it was happening. Tennessee actually guarded the 3-point line well. Paint defense was weak. They allowed way too much penetration. They did not communicate on ball screens. They had bad rotations all night. And again, the only reason it was even close was 23 offensive rebounds. Like, their offense was seriously in the dregs outside of Gillespie's shot making. I mean, it was a disaster. I mean, they were 4-17 from 3, and it was 2 points in the final minute. That's almost impossible in college basketball in 2026. And they were, I think, 20 of 47 from 2.
It just seems like I've not been able to properly describe this all year, and it boils down to just like not playing well offensively. But when we lost the Vandy game at the end of the season, and then when we lost on a neutral site, it just seems like almost no matter what, like, teams never got stressed against us because our offense didn't stress them out. Like, I think about those Kentucky games when Kentucky was just kind of staring down, knowing that if they kept chipping away, and they were right, like, could reasonably just get back over the hump and take the lead back. And it was like we had no real ability to run away from teams. We did not have a night where we were hot and then a night where we weren't hot, and the night we were hot, we absolutely crushed teams. The only time in the past month where it seems like we've been in absolute control of a game was against South Carolina. And we were optimistic coming off of that, but we very carefully caveated, this is South Carolina. This is a very directly non-tournament team. And so, yeah, some of these are teams that we are way more talented than, but, now that we're in the field, every single one of these teams is, by rule, a relatively quality tournament team. And I just don't know I don't know what the path looks like there. I wanted to before we jump into the bracket and the matchup, I wanted to know if you had just other thoughts on the SEC tournament beyond our loss, just other thoughts of anything that stood out to you, and then we'll get to kind of bracket and where it has us sitting.
Other thoughts, Acuff is offensively incredible. The effort defensively is not where you want to see it, but he's also a freshman. And he's got so much responsibility on him. And there's been Cal guards, like John Wall did not play defense.
I was going to say, it's a very Calipari thing to be like, they're figuring out 7 different layers on offense in some insanely impressive way. And Cal is on them about defense, but it's just not there yet.
No. And like I said, like Wall, I remember, was not a good defender, and he turned out fine in the NBA. Booker was a absolute, like, disaster as a freshman defender, which is why the Harrisons played over him. Now, I don't think that was still a good decision, but it's why Cal didn't play Booker more. So we've seen Calipari guards just not play good defense and then be fine in the NBA. So I'm not like long-term concerned about it, but he's incredible. Like, I mean, just, I haven't seen a guard like him in college play that mature of a game. There are like some Chris Paul similarities that I just don't like to put on guys. He's obviously bigger, but the way he makes passes, the decision making he has, the shooting, it's incredible. I think Mark Byington's done a fantastic job at Vanderbilt. I hate giving that credit.
I
I think
know.
that he's done really well the last 2 years, even though they didn't win on Sunday. And then I think I'll just be honest. I'm not sure Florida cared about the SEC tournament.
They were ready for the big dance a little bit.
Yeah, and like Golden was just, I don't like the press conference. Like I'm thinking like, oh, he'll be upset. It's like he did not seem to really care. So I don't think there's any, like, I still think they can absolutely win another national title, which would be insane. But other than that, like I think the tournament should be in Nashville or Atlanta. I know
Yeah.
they put it in Tampa. Like that was weird. So like I think Nashville's a really good venue for it. I would say the other thing too is I kind of wish they would just get rid of like the 15th and 16th team with these Tuesday games or
Yeah.
Wednesday games, I guess, in the SEC. Like I kind of wish they would just be like how the Big East used to do it. Like if you were not one of the, I think it was the top 12, you
Your
didn't get
season's
in.
over.
Yeah, like I kind of wish they did that, but like it kind of gives these a little bit of an advantage because you play a game, so you're more used to the gym and everything, and it makes it harder to scout on some of these. Like I think for Tennessee, as we talk about their bracket, I think it sucks that they got this 6-11 matchup. Like I honestly would rather have had a 7-10
7-10,
because
I agree.
now this Miami game, I believe, is at like late Wednesday night. Yeah, 9:15 Wednesday night. Tennessee has to play 4:20 on Friday. So now instead of being able to have 3 full days scouting one opponent, you're going to have to divide your time between 2 teams, which I don't think is really beneficial. And you're talking about
Two pretty
having
different teams as well.
two different teams and then 36-hour turnaround time and 40-hour turnaround time. So I kind of wish that the SEC would just be like, hey, 10, maybe 10, be like, if you don't make top 10, you don't make the conference tournament. Like, I think that would be, obviously that will never happen. And that's a personal thing. I'm trying to reduce in college sports. In case you can't tell, that's
Yeah.
kind of my belief that there's too much excess. I'm trying to be more efficient. But I, I have a question.
Yeah.
For you. Is this, so like the first year for Barnes doesn't count. Like pre-transfer
Sure.
portal, Tyndall, freaking disaster. Like the fact that they won double-digit games was maybe Barnes' best coaching job when you actually think about it. I know that 19-20 team was pretty ugly. I think they went like 17-13 before COVID. This might be my like least fun team to watch. Like at least with the 21 team, which just collapsed in February. Johnson and Springer were fun. Like having those 2 freshmen, they were a pretty young team as well. And so I was like, okay, you know, I can see it. I just do not like other than Jacoby and Ament, I don't know if I like one player on this team.
I
Like I love
just
Boswell's hustle in Australia's post game. And it's like you're digging to find stuff to enjoy about this basketball team.
digging within the first 5. I don't know. There's been times where you have to squint a little bit to dream on that bench guy or whatever, but it feels like we're doing that a little more with like the third scoring threat. I don't know.
I know.
It's
We
not
don't
what you
have a
want.
third scoring threat.
No, that's true. Like it could be any number of guys, which means you don't have one. I don't know. The way I think about it is like when we got to the point in the past 6 to 8 games that like these results stopped surprising me, it's a real bummer. And I'm not putting it on one person. I'm not putting it on Nate. I'm not putting it on Barnes. It just kind of is what it is, where I could see a world where we just out physical and win against the play-in team, and then we play a similar type of game the following matchup and absolutely get through that first weekend. I could also see us just going out with a pretty lackluster second round loss. And, I mean, if we get upset in the first round, that's going to be the buzz. Like, oh my gosh, that'll be a story. But the other real possibility is like we find a way to win the first round and then just casually lose in the second round, which is kind of what I expect to happen, which is a really weird place to be.
Well, it hadn't happened in 4 years.
Yeah.
So, it took a historically bad Tennessee performance against Michigan to them not to make the Sweet 16 in 22. Like the last 40 years, they've made the Sweet 16. So, sorry, they made it last 4 out of last 5, I think. Sorry. But anyway, I did want to break down the roster construction. And we've talked
Yeah.
about this. I made a post on Ball Nation Friday. I was pretty upset. It was reasonable, but, I was going to save it for after the season, but I just wanted to get it out. I don't understand why, after successfully having a ball moving four, because Triple J was not a stretch four. Like, he didn't shoot threes that year, but he moved the ball and he could dribble. And he could pass. So, like, he was a stretch four or small ball four. And then Milicic, who was a little underwhelming, but just could hit threes well enough, that they just went after Carey with Akpara, Phillips, and Estrella already on the team. And this isn't even a Carey. I don't want to trash Carey because we've done it significantly enough.
It's not a fit. Like we know it.
It's like they saw the 2 games he played against Tennessee, which he was good those 2 games, and just were like, oh, I want that guy. Like, Rick was just like, want him. Get him for me, instead of like actually scouting and figuring out the roster construction. Especially because they knew Ament was going to be on this team in late March.
Yeah,
like they had him in the bag, and he's literally designed to play the 4. Like, literally put on this earth to play college ball 4. And I just don't understand why they got an undersized non-vertical 4, 0 skills on the team, and if they switch out Carey for a 6'9" guy that could shoot 33% from 3 and hit like 73s this year, I'm not even talking like 120. Like, I don't need a guy hit 3 a game, just enough to get the defense. They probably are. I think that's worth 5 wins. I really do.
And he's out of the way, which probably leads to Nate developing a little sooner.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then it makes you, I think, more of a threat in March.
You saw it in the Vanderbilt game when they're down 2. Carey is trying to post up as Nate is driving to the basketball. Akpara is literally just standing with his hands down in the lane. Jacoby doesn't reset, which is his fault, but he's at least stretched. And they don't even care that Bishop Boswell is on the floor. Like, they literally sent Bishop's man to run right at Nate. So I get that Cameron Carr leaving really surprised them, and that sucked. And you just are like, man, if you plug him in, and I don't know, maybe it wouldn't have worked because him and Rick just didn't seem to click. But like, if you put him there, or if they have, like, the fact they recruited Carey and then were like, I hope Amari Abram can shoot.
So that, I think you're on to something where it's like it's allowed to be a huge bummer that you lost Carr. And like you said, they didn't click. And that's, I mean, especially nowadays in college basketball, that's going to happen. But then, like, we always, everyone knows the line of, like, recreate them in the aggregate. And that's, like, been used and abused in terms of, like, baseball and stuff. But we didn't even try to do that. No. Like, the idea of Carr and the idea of that fit on this team, or the idea of someone like that, we didn't even try to do that. It's like if we lost, this young righty who could have struck a bunch of guys out in the 8th inning and he got hurt. And so we don't have him on our baseball team. And then instead of trying to find someone else who's going to be in that role, you got like a, ground ball oriented starter. Like, it's like we didn't even try to do the thing that could approximate the
You
better version of
literally
it.
just described Alex Anthopoulos' whole roster
Hey, there
construction.
you go. And I know everyone loves the overlap of people who are really happy about the Vols basketball team, but people who are really happy about the Braves roster construction is just like a circle right now.
But to expand on your point, the create them in the aggregate, you took this risk with Berg,
Yeah.
and that, like, the fact, I was like, I'm glad he's passable. Like in late February, it wasn't even like, oh, he's playing well. I'm like, he's
And we're
passable.
about to go into the tournament against these dogs.
I'm
on
like,
Vanderbilt.
oh, thank God Bird can play 8 minutes where he's not a disaster like he was in January, and he's 23. And so it felt like the staff just did not, they value shooting. Look what they did with Dalton and Chaz, and they got Milicic last year. And you're going to miss. You're going to get outbid. Like, that's going to happen. I totally understand it. I still would have just like been, I would have just been like, hey, Jalen, I appreciate you, but we're going to pass. Berg, hey, we're good. And just looked for more shooting. Even if they're bad defenders.
Like, we need explosiveness.
It's funny because Rick's got this, like, I can teach anyone how to shoot, or he's got the perception of I can teach anyone how to shoot, which is partially true. He's actually better at getting anyone to be like a passable defender. Like, that's actually his greatest strength. Like, he really is incredible at it, of turning guys into halfway decent defenders with the way they game plan and their drills that they do and how tough they run.
And that they can defend like multiple positions bigger than their size. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you think about what Boswell, the defender he's become.
Exactly.
I mean, just incredible. And even like, Kennedy Chandler was not a good defender. He was too small. Like, even then, like, he never killed Tennessee, where you're like, oh my God, they are just picking Chandler apart. It's a little bit different than NBA and college. Like, I get that, but still, like, I feel like Rick just needs to just say, like, okay, you know what? Even if he's not a good defender, or even if we're not seeing good defense effort in this guy, we could probably teach him that more than we can teach Ethan Berg how to shoot threes, or banking on Amari Abram to translate his Louisiana Tech okay shooting into good shooting at Tennessee. Like, I think that needs to be really worked on this offseason. Yes, absolutely. Like, I would rather trust Rick to build game plans with his coaching staff and work on guys in offseason defensively than work on them shooting, especially after this year.
Yeah, and you mean, you had concerns about it early on, and you were kind of like, hold. He has seen improvement before, and we just never really saw it. I think the other, on top of all of this, the other thing that is frustrating about this is, with all the stuff that we just laid out, that not has gone wrong. I hate that framing. The season is what it is, but just that, hasn't reached its potential, or has us a little less excited. We are still like a pretty quality basketball team. We're not really, really good, but we're a pretty quality basketball team. And so to have things not work, and to have the offense be what it is sometimes, and to have Nate not be superstar status, even though he has been very good, and just to be like sitting right on the outside from like a Ken Palm or advanced analytics kind of like efficiency or net rating perspective, to still be pretty darn good, if not one of the top teams, that's where it's like, golly, like that is the frustration, because we've been used to going into these tournaments and saying like, hey, people are kind of underrating us. They're not really focused on us. If you're asleep at the wheel, we're gonna be in the Elite Eight, or we can be. And it hasn't always ended the way where we want it to end. But this year we don't even feel like it's going to get there. And then the other thing on top of that is, what the hell do we do if we just win the first two games pretty soundly, and we make it past? I don't really know how to back trace that at that point with the results we've seen.
March erases a lot of mistakes. So I think if they make the Sweet 16 overall, I think people will be say good year.
Sure.
Which I think is fine. It's not an Auburn down year. Like, think about Auburn 17. Yeah, like, 17 and 16 Auburn, right? Like, they were a 1 seed and they didn't make the tournament this year. And like, had a pretty good. They were preseason top 25, and I know Bruce bailed on them 2 weeks ago in the season, but that's a real down year. Or in 1920, where they had the Grant teams, and then they went, like I said, 17-13, and we're not going to make tournament unless they won the SEC. That's a down year. So, like, this is actually kind of impressive. Would you think about how poorly
it's
this
gone.
construction was?
Yeah.
And they're still 16th overall in KenPom. It's almost a minor miracle. Now, part of that is historic offensive rebounding rate that we literally still have not seen in 14 years. And Nate coming in April, like when they didn't have him early signing period, I mean, could you imagine how bad this would have been without him? So and Jacoby, had a lot of good moments. So it could have been a lot worse. I'm not saying that. And we're not overall like calling for changes in the program or anything. It's just like, hey,
weird results.
Yeah, just like don't rely on Bishop Oswell, Ethan Berg, and Amari Abram to hit threes next year. Like that's what you're looking for. You need to bring in. There's already a kid from Belmont put up 15 a game, put up 40% from three, and was the MVC player of the year. Like that. Okay, that's a kid we need to go get. We'll teach him how to play defense. Like you can't just rely on Amari Abram. Like that's the big thing. So, and they made Sweet 16. That's kind of where I thought they would be. I would hope. I thought 24-26 regular season wins, second weekend of the tournament. So if they do that, I think it's fine. It's just not been fun.
we still need to think about the process. No matter what happens in March, the process needs to be revisited, or the construction, more so than the process, needs to be revisited. A couple things. I will say, to credit Stephen Pearl, he is a 1 seed this year in the NIT. So they didn't fall off completely
took that invitation.
Being,
so good for them.
I know. They're in separate tournament in La La Land somewhere. Thinking about the matchup specifically, like thinking about how the bracket could fall specifically, we talked about the fact that we get that play-in game. We're the winner of that play-in game. So you have SMU and Miami of Ohio on, what is it, Tuesday night? Wednesday night? Wednesday night, and then we play at 4:25 on Friday. So we'll kind of get to play amidst all the madness, and some craziness will have already happened. I like that spot more than like first couple games on Thursday. That always makes me a little nervous. I don't know that I have a lean on SMU Miami of Ohio, but I think it's interesting that Miami of Ohio wound up in this spot. I kind of feel bad for them in a way, and we've talked about this a little bit, or talked around it, and you and I have talked about it offline. They wound up 31-1, and they did lose in the tournament. It almost feels like they were like set up to be beat up a little bit. Where like if they had lost their 17th game of the season and wound up with a really good record, they would be talked about better, and they almost would. Right. They would be like a 10 seed or something. But it was like ESPN is extremely good at this thing where they, right over here with their right hand, craft a narrative about something, and then right behind it with their left hand come off the top rope in a negative way. And so it's almost like, oh, look how exciting, this team that no one expected, and they've defied the results, and they're not mega talented, and blah, blah, blah. Just almost thirsting for them to drop the game. And then, okay, we'll follow up on that now. I do feel like they've been mistreated a little bit from that perspective, instead of it being pure excitement. And, Daddy Pearl is a big reason for that, in my opinion. And Absolutely, so I think it'll be really interesting. They get that play-in game in Dayton, which is really close to Oxford. And so I hope that they have like raucous support and just play their best game. I just hope it's not a clunker. I don't really have a preference on what matchup I want necessarily. The momentum of a 31-1 that was written off team coming off a win scares me a little bit, but it's March. Kind of any matchup can go awry if you're not fully confident in your team. And so, do you have any thoughts on what the matchup could be, how the bracket could fall? Or is it kind of like, it's the middle of the Friday, like let's just wait and see how we feel when tip happens?
Yeah, all the advanced metrics have SMU as the favorite. Miami, Ohio, we talked about this last episode, was just, they're not, the advanced numbers on them, don't believe them because of their schedule. And it was interesting. I forgot who did the report. I apologize. But can't remember the name, but they came out with reports that Miami, Ohio did try and schedule multiple power teams this season, and the power teams just wouldn't take them because they thought Miami, Ohio would be good. It was really interesting. Like, hey, it's not their fault, and it's these teams that don't. Ohio State doesn't want to take the chance they lose to Miami, Ohio,
They very well
and
could have.
Columbus. Right, exactly. So I think both teams, SMU and Miami, Ohio, are good.
Yeah.
I absolutely think they can beat Tennessee. Tennessee's got advantages in both matchups. I would say, looking a little bit more depth into SMU, they're a little better than I thought they were. I know they were last for him, but they don't shoot a lot of threes, but they're super efficient with it, and they've got some really good athletes. Boopy Miller and Jaron Pierre Jr. average 37 a game. They have BJ Edwards, former Vol alert, by the way, who's had a fantastic season. I was looking at his numbers. He's putting up 12, 6, and 5, 2 steals per game, 37% for 3 on 4 attempts. I was like, oh, boy.
Great. Perfect.
Wouldn't that have been fun to have at point guard and Jacoby running off screens at the 2? Man, that would have been great. But, I mean, he left 3 years ago, so it's not a big deal. Miami can shoot you out of the gym incredibly deep. They have 6 players that average 10 per game, which you just don't see in mid-majors. That is. Peter Suter is one of the most efficient players in the game. He's a 6'5" guard. He shot 60% from 2 as a 6'5" guard. That's crazy. They're extremely balanced. Miami is. They have shooting up and down the lineup. They shot 61.5% from 2 as a team. That's second in the country, and they don't play through a post.
Buckets right there.
Yeah. And their effective field goal percentage is 6th in the country. They push the pace. They draw beautiful half-court sets. Like, SMU will ugly the game with Tennessee more than Miami will. Miami's going to draw some stuff up, game plan you. They're gonna backdoor cut. Their handoffs, easy buckets. Like, that's what they're going to do. I think for Tennessee, I would rather take my chances with SMU, despite the fact they're more athletic. And the reason being is SMU is pretty good at shooting threes. They're 24th in the country in percentage, but they don't shoot them. They're 218th in their point distribution. So they don't take many. They're 250th compared to their 3-point field goal points, 3-point attempts to their field goal attempts. So they don't take a lot. They're like okay in assists. So like, really good ball movement teams have hurt Tennessee this year. SMU isn't great with their ball movement. They're fine. They rebound. Their defensive rebounding percentage is actually bad. SMU. They're 228th in the country in defensive rebounding. So I would probably rather take my chances with SMU and just hope they don't try and shoot 25 threes. They just play their normal game plan. So SMU's also been a free fall. They've lost 5 out of their last 6, and they beat Syracuse, who just fired their coach. Like, that's their last win. So I would say SMU is who I would take the chance on. And honestly, Miami, Ohio, the other thing, bailing out of the tournament might have been good for them. They had played a lot of close games late, condensed schedule.
Rest.
Having some rest, I think, is going to help them. And they play so deep. They play 9 guys over 10 minutes a night. So, or at least 13 minutes, excuse me. So I think I'd rather take my chances with SMU and just pray that Tennessee hits a little bit more from 3 than they do. But either way, Tennessee's going to be in a dogfight, I think, on Friday afternoon.
Yeah, I mean, I do think, and it's not that I wouldn't be worried about one. And I don't think this actually holds up when you look at it, but I am always a little wary of like, oh, this team won the play-in and has a little bit of confidence. Like, I actually don't think that's accurate, but it feels like it is going to operate that way, especially when you're playing against them. I will not be not worried if we're playing SMU, but if we're playing Miami, especially if Miami plays really well and shoots really well against SMU, then I do think me and a lot of all fans will be sitting there tapping our fingers, waiting for around 4:30 on Friday. Like, oh, this could be a little feel embarrassing because this team that's been so talked about and so discussed, and like I said, I think in unfair ways where it's all been pointing to bad. It's like, no, actually, there's some reasons they're a pretty quality basketball team. And now here it is, roll the ball out. And if they're just going to, every position can score, we're not good at matching buckets. And we're also not good at pulling away from teams. And so teams that can just hit shots, they're right there with us. And so I am very intrigued to see how I feel at tip, and then obviously intrigued to see the results of the game. Tracing the bracket a little bit beyond that, and this is making assumptions about, we show up and we play really well and we rebound the ball and win. If we win, then we get the winner of Virginia and Wright State. Unsurprisingly, Virginia favored big against Wright State. But again, a team in Virginia that plays like that muddied up style still a little bit, and would give us different kinds of problems, but can match our physicality a little bit more. And then if you look way down the bracket, I mean, there's a world where we're looking at a Kentucky, but I'm okay saying we'll cross that bridge when we get there. Like, there's a lot of things that have
We'll
to
have another
happen for that to
podcast.
even be it. Yeah, that'll be. We'll see on that. And so I'm not fretting in any way about that. If we get to have that matchup, it actually means we did a good thing. So,
Virginia is almost the exact same team as us.
yep.
Like, very, very close. They are not a major obstacle, in my opinion. They're a pretty close facsimile. They're 27th in KenPom. They're 16th in KenPom defense. They're 271st in tempo. For comparison's sake, Tennessee is 37th in offense, 15th in defense, and 307th in tempo. So literally, basically the same play style. The only difference is and Virginia's 10th in offensive rebounding in the country. They shoot and hit threes way better than us. We get to the free throw line way better than them. And they defend the paint like madmen because Ugana Onyenso might be the best shot blocker in the country. So if Tennessee gets there and faces Virginia, I think out of the top 12 seeds, top 12 teams, this is probably the best matchup they would have got in terms of a 3. So Virginia's 13th, Tennessee's 16th in KenPom. I think I don't know if Virginia has anyone looking at their roster. They're pretty small after DeRidder and, DeRidder, their best player. And then, Onyenso, who's going to, be in the paint. Like, I don't know if they have anyone that can actually guard Nate. So my thinking, Tennessee would be in good shape for that. I'm not going to predict it per se. I would not be shocked if Tennessee gets to the Sweet 16, though. Despite the fact that I don't know, I could absolutely see this team losing by 15 by Miami of Ohio as well.
Yeah.
This is such a variance to them.
Pretty as wide a bar as I can remember on what I expect to happen in the tournament. Like, there have been multiple tournaments that we've entered into where I'm like trying to convince people, like, listen, if things go right, we can win. And then it doesn't happen. And so it's like, oh, well, yeah, right. But it's there again, like you said, it could be a 15-point win or loss in the first round. And then it could be a 15-point win or loss in the second round. I mean, we're a little underseeded. Virginia's right about where it seems like they would be. And so I don't know. I guess what you can expect, Vol fans, is both games, but especially if we wind up with a Tennessee-Virginia matchup, it's going to be a rock fight, it seems like. And we're used to those. We've just come out on the wrong side of a couple of those this year. And so I'm hoping that I can get to a place where I pull back for just a second and just enjoy the march of it all, because I absolutely adore March Madness. And there have been years in the past where it's almost been, I don't mean this so negative, but like it's almost been robbed from us because we are like, it is high stakes Tennessee basketball with a crappy result where it's like almost kind of left me with a horrible taste in my mouth.
Especially
this
the
year,
last few years.
Yes. And like that Purdue game is unforgivable stuff, in my opinion. Like, not from Tennessee's perspective, but just the hand we were dealt that game. And so it's just like, God, I don't even care about this now. Whereas this year, I'm definitely much more in a place of like, there's some really fun teams, and Tennessee's a rock fight team, and we'll see if they can have a successful rock fight and try to enjoy the craziness that happens. And so I don't have a prediction in terms of how far we'll go, because I just want to see if we can make it to the Sweet 16. And for a year like we've had, I'm fine just waiting and seeing if we can do that.
Well, Tennessee's also won a tournament game last 4 years. Like, that'd be nice to keep the streak going. And I will say this. I would rather be a 6 than a 4 or a 5, because I don't want to play any of those 1 seeds.
No, God, no.
This group of 1 seeds is just
It feels like a
incredible.
tier. Well, I think Iowa State's really good as well,
I'm not saying they're not,
but it feels like a
but
tier for those 1 seeds.
right. Well, especially the 3. Like, I know Florida whooped us, but I feel like that
Duke,
was like
Arizona,
at
Michigan.
once. Yeah, like Arizona, Michigan, Duke, and I know Tennessee played Duke in that scrimmage. I I just think would in a Sweet 16 matchup against those teams, just give me Iowa State or Kentucky or Santa Clara. Like I'll take my chances than dealing with one of those 3-1 seeds. So the only thing that would have made better is if they could have got Purdue. Although I know the ghost would not have been
Yeah.
would have been fun to deal with, but Purdue did not deserve a 2 seed. So I would rather be like the 6 than the 4 or 5. I think that actually worked out for them. I will say on the flip side of that, we've seen so many of these stupid 6-11 games where the team wins in Dayton and then steamrolls the 6 seed.
Yep.
Tennessee did that, if we remember,
True.
with 12, 13 years ago. So, and there's always seems to be one in the tournaments. So that's the one negative to it. And the last thing I'll say is when you offense rebound 45% of your shots, you're going to give yourself a chance.
You are.
I don't think Tennessee's like I did say like, oh, Tennessee's down 15 by Miami, Ohio. I actually don't think that's going to happen just because they limit the game so much with possessions. So if they just get somebody, not named Jacoby or Nate, to hit a couple threes, not even 10, just like if Boswell knocks one down and Berg knocks 2 down.
Give me
And
6.
Evans. Yeah, if you can get 6 from non-Nate, non-Jacoby guys in a game,
You're going to the Sweet
probably
16.
going to win that game. Yeah, exactly. You're going to the Sweet 16. So that's going to be the thing. Can Tennessee do that? And Nate getting the one other positive is Nate probably needed a little more time off. So I think not playing Saturday, Sunday overall is actually good for them.
Do you have any other, I mean, this is like impossible to guess. Do you have any leans as far as who you think is just like, if you had to pick one team that you thought would be in the Final Four, do you have one name in mind, maybe 2? And then I don't know how much in detail you've looked at the bracket yet, because it always feels like it's so hard to place the teams right away. But do you have a first round matchup or second round matchup, like this coming weekend matchup that you are like excited for if it happens?
I'm excited. I think Louisville, South Florida is going to be a really good game.
Okay.
I think South Florida is undervalued. I thought they had a really good year. Ken Palm loves them. So that was one there. I would say I'm very excited. I think if you wanted me to ask, like, hey, what's a top 3 seed that you think could make a run? Arkansas with just Acuff, and they seem to really have kind of found their role. St. John's got a raw deal, in my opinion, with a 5. I could not believe they ended up getting a 5. I thought they should at least been a 3. So I think that's a really good team. You know, Pitino's one of the best game planners in college basketball history. So that would be something I look for. And then I would say if you were to ask me, like, what's a good 5-12 pick, I'd tell you Wisconsin versus High Point. That Wisconsin team, if their big men don't hit threes, they have nothing offensively. So I would say like that'd be my 5-12. But I think it should be a really good tournament. I'm curious because the last couple of years the upsets have kind of dwindled with the new era. So I still think the tournament matters. I still think it's great. Still think it's a wonderful sporting event. I actually won't be watching Thursday. I'll be in Washington D.C. But it's that Thursday through Sunday. I don't know if there's still anything better like for a 4-day event.
It's one of those things that if it didn't exist, we're so bad with some of this stuff, and I mean we like the general designing sports public. If this tournament didn't exist, we would do such a bad job trying to approximate something like this in college basketball. So I'm so glad that it exists, because I just think about like where we've come to in other sports. Like I actually don't, if this just was erased from our brains, Men in Black, flashy thing, this tournament doesn't exist, I think we would actually have a hard time getting back to something this amazing.
It would be a disaster.
People would not be convinced that it would be, people would think it would be horrible. And it turns out it's like one of everyone's 3 favorite sporting events all year next to like the Masters and whatever else you want to pick. And so it's just lovely. I think if I were forced to guarantee you a team in the Final Four, I would say Michigan. This is partially because I watched them a lot early on, and it's just like I don't see how a team can be that effective on the perimeter, and it seems like every single player is 6'10" or above. And so like it's just like it's one of those things where it's like I think, Duke has the premier player and has some hard fought games, but I could see Michigan overwhelming basically everyone else. And so that size is just crazy. And then if I had to pick a second round matchup that who knows if it'll happen or not, but I'd be very intrigued by it, just how top of mind Vandy is. Vandy and Nebraska in the second round, if we get there, see what upsets happen. Vandy and Nebraska in the second round with one of those teams going to take on Florida. I think that'd be really fun. Who knows if they have a shot against Florida, but both of those teams are really game, and I think especially Nebraska is a team that I think could flourish in the tournament, and so we'll see. And that is, I think, maybe overall a relatively weak bracket. Not throwing shade, but like North Carolina's a 6. Their season's in a very different place now. Maybe the weakest 1 seed, even though they're still really good, and so maybe that's where we get a little bit of a run from somebody if we had to pick one.
I do want to see if one of these freshman stars, DeBonsa, Boozer, Peterson, Acuff, can go on a little bit of a mellow run in 03. Like, I think that would be really, or Anthony Davis in 12. Like, could one of these freshmen, make a mark?
Well, the other potential 4 or 5 second round would be Kansas and St. John's.
Right, which would just be
very fun.
In a rock fight.
Yes. Yes.
In a rock fight. So if we tried to do, like you said, if we Men in Blacked him, I could not imagine trying to get Greg Sankey and Tony Bacchetti and all these dopes to try and come up with something like this. Like, it would be a disaster class.
It would be so bad. It would be, and then that actually leads to my final thought. And then we're going to come back over the next week and a half or so with some MLB previews, and we'll touch on the baseballs when we do that, and kind of see how their season is developing. But my final other thought on this is like, this is all responding to Bruce Pearl's silliness over the past couple of weeks, but like, however annoying and stupid that has felt, from my perspective, is like that is the conversations that everyone is throwing at the committee when they're lobbying for their team. And I don't even mean like Sark and Heupel. I mean like almost like next level down program supporters who are in these people's ears. I just can't imagine the utter horse, that is thrown at this decision-making committee that already seems to switch things up just at their whim. I don't know, like if you ever wanted a little bit of a light into why we just get extremely wary of and frustrated with the college football committee process, just think about the utter idiocy that someone who claims to care about this sport has been spouting for a month now. And it's partially because that guy's an utter idiot, but it's not like he's alone in that. And so that's what I'll say about it.
We do not need former coaches on pregame shows. We can just go with players. It's fine.
Yeah.
Like Wally Zerbiak and Clark Kellogg are perfect, and Seth Davis are perfectly fine.
Lead us to the game, buddy. Like,
yep, we do not need to have Bruce Pearl on the show, and it's not just him. It's other people. I'll make an exception for Seth Greenberg. Like, other coaches we've seen, like Jay Wright, like, I don't think ever brought anything to the pregame show when they hired him. They made a huge deal out of when they got him.
He was pretty generic.
Yeah, exactly. It's like, I always talk about, like, ESPN like spent millions of dollars on Bob Myers, and not one time did I ever go, wow, I'm glad Bob Myers is here, for their NBA coverage. So like, I would also say this, unlike the college football committee, which would be a really freaking easy job when you actually think about it, this is pretty difficult.
It's pretty hard.
I will say. Like, I don't know what to do with a 22-10 Georgia team that got an 8 seed. And not one time am I like, I think that's a good team, or I'm impressed with that team, or, and part of that is my college basketball watching has just diminished over the years, like in general, because of other stuff. But unlike college football, where I feel they overcomplicate it and there's so much political fighting
For
that
what
occurs.
amounts to like seeming like 5 games.
Yes, exactly. At least with this one, because of the protection of if you win your conference tournament, you're in.
The
There's
decisions are
only
made
so
for them.
much. Exactly. There's only so much politicking that can be done. Like, hey, we have 35 spots. Really, it comes down to 5. And almost like with college football, where I'm like, I really don't care what 9-3 team gets in because you're 9-3. It's like, I do not care if 17-16 Auburn or 19-15 Oklahoma or 18-15 Cincinnati get left out, even though they're 38th in Ken Palm compared to 90 something for
Yeah.
Miami, Ohio. I'm sorry, I have no sympathy for you. I have less sympathy for you than if you went 9-3 in the SEC in college football. So, like, I think this is much harder because there's so much more information. But you're right, it does put in comparison like how absolutely stupid the college football playoff committee is and how much
Yeah.
harder they make their job. And part of it is because they have to do these stupid rankings.
So that's the other thing is like I think this is so much harder because one, like you could actually like seed people just relatively quickly and have your rules that you're using to seed them, but you actually could stumble into accidentally loading a bracket or accidentally like a portion of the bracket, or like without realizing it's setting up like massive implications of a second or third round game in ways that feel unfair. Whereas like the other one is like it's decided on the field pretty quickly. You can only screw up the pattern of it so much. But you're right. Part of the reason feels so silly is because we make it a TV program for an hour and a half, 2 hours every week when it simply does not merit that. And so I guess we're responding a little bit to that as well as the silliness of it.
If they had to come out with Jim
Yes.
Lombardi and Jerry Palm all do their projected brackets or whatnot, but if whoever the committee head is now has to come out each week and do it, we would either see dumb stuff or we would see stuff made for drama. So I at least have to put that in when the football committee is doing their stuff. Like ESPN's like, hey, can you give us some stuff? Can you make it fun? Can you like drop Miami 2 spots for no reason just so we can have something to talk about, where they don't have to do this? So I will say that.
I'm excited for the tournament. I'm excited to see if Tennessee shows up, and I don't mean that pessimistic. I'm just trying to enjoy the madness, and to the extent that we can, whether it's sneaking peeks at scores during work or throwing it up on a stream, whatever you can do. I think all of us get to interact with this a little bit less. Like I think about as a kid, like the TV cart being pulled out in the classroom so that we can like sneak some viewing of the first couple of days of March Madness. We don't get a version of that always now, but whatever version of that is for you, I hope you get to do it this week. Even if you're catching up on scores and catching up on one of the days instead of all of the days. And so we're headed towards the tournament. You'll hear from us on that, and you'll hear from us on Major League Baseball as well as college baseball over the next couple episodes as well.
Thank you guys. We're gonna have if Tennessee makes Sweet 16, we'll obviously have an episode. We'll preview the rest of the bracket. We're excited. Vols baseball in full swing. Just had their first conference series. Spring practice started today, so really exciting times for Vol Nation and for Tennessee sports. And go Vols.